So we're now in the kitchen and we're going to be making that lemon cheesecake. You've already got the ingredients here. Can you run us through what you've got and why you chose those things?
Sure. I like to keep it simple with my recipes, so minimal ingredients for like maximum flavor and impact. So we're going to be making a no-bake lemon cheesecake. So I've got an almond flour base to keep it low carb. And then we're going to be using this blend of Greek yogurt and cream cheese that I like because it's lower fat, higher protein.
And that's a no flavour? No flavour?
Yeah, no flavor.
Okay.
Absolutely. Lemons to get that lemony flavor. So we're going to use the zest and the juice of the lemon. And then we're going to add a collagen boost with the Skin Boost Plus and, of course, allulose.
Tell me, how often do you use it?
Literally every day. I love it because it's the closest thing to sugar and you can use it in baking, not baking, etc. But you're the expert. Tell me a little bit more about allulose and what it does in our bodies.
Oh, look, I'd love to because it's such an interesting ingredient and I'm glad that you love the taste, because that's really important or else we wouldn't be using it.
Exactly.
The thing about allulose is it's actually got so many properties. One of the things that people may not know is it's antioxidant, so it's really good for fighting free radicals. When you put allulose into your food and you ingest it, you tend to find you don't get those blood sugar spikes that you tend to get from carbohydrates or even from just sugar, simple sugars as well. So you get a more flatlined response from glucose, which is really important because what that's going to mean is that you're going to get less sugar cravings. The other thing about it is it's prebiotic, so it's very good for your microbiome, so you're getting that.
I actually did not know that.
And there's one more I have to tell you, and a lot of people, I wonder if you'll know this one. Allulose can actually stimulate the body to create GLP-1. And that's satiety. So that's going to help you to feel fuller, so you don't want to eat as much.
That I did not know, and I think a lot of people don't know that, and that's absolutely amazing. Especially right now with everyone talking about GLP-1.
Yeah, exactly. And it's natural and it's easy to use and it's so safe and there's so many things that you can get from there.
That's amazing. So I'm making the crust while we're chatting. This is just the almond flour, some melted butter, and vanilla extract.
Ah, easy. And I love the fact we don't need to bake this.
Nope. That's the best part. So it's super simple for everyone following along. It's a couple of tablespoons of almond flour because we're making 2 portions. Some melted butter, about a tablespoon. A splash of vanilla extract. And then we're going to add a teaspoon of the allulose. While we're making the crust, speaking of blood sugar, can you talk a little bit about how allulose affects blood sugar and then about metabolic health overall?
Sure. I know a lot of people are talking about metabolic health at the moment, and I think there's quite a lot of confusion. So one of the things I really like about allulose is that it doesn't give you the blood sugar spike. So you'll take it in, it'll taste really sweet, and that's great, but the body doesn't respond in the same way to allulose as it does to just simple sugars. And that's a really good thing. Because what happens with metabolic health is that's the way your body handles sugar in particular. And when your body is out of whack and you have not got the healthiest of metabolic health, what tends to happen is you have a lot of inflammation. And inflammation can have really long-term effects all over the place. People think about their heart, they think about their joints, but it's really interesting because if you're healthy metabolically in your body, it also means your brain becomes healthier as well. So there's metabolic health effects in the body as well as in the brain, which I think a lot of people don't realise.
How do you know that you're metabolically healthy? What does that mean?
There's 2 tests that you should be looking at. One of them is called a continuous glucose monitor, and you might have seen people try them. And even if you're not pre-diabetic or diabetic, it's just really interesting to see how your body responds to sugars and carbohydrates. So in fact, I've got friends of mine, and in fact, I'm going to be trying it very soon, is actually trying one for 2 weeks and testing myself out with different foods. Because you may not feel different, but if you see the numbers and you see how your body responds, you can start to make changes based on data. And that's really important. The other thing people can do is when they get a blood test is get their HbA1c measured as well. And that will give you a marker of how your body's responding in terms of glucose and insulin, as well as your glucose management overall.
And that's pretty standard now to get that tested when you get your blood work done, correct?
It's very standard. It's really easy. In fact, when people get their blood work done, it's really just ticking an extra box, and there it is.
Okay, so what I've done is I've pressed, while we were chatting, I pressed the crust down into the bottom of the ramekin just to make an even layer, and now we're going to make the filling.
Great. So we've been talking about metabolic health, and I know you've been on your own journey and you've been learning about metabolic health as well. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I lost over 90 pounds in my 40s and I've maintained that into my 50s now. And the biggest thing that I noticed was as I got older, my metabolic health changed, my metabolism slowed down. Losing weight was so much harder the older I got. So through that journey, I've learned a lot, and a lot of it has to do with diet and lifestyle.
And is there anything in particular in diet that you look for?
High protein and high fiber are the key things that I try to incorporate every single day.
And is there any particular protein number that you're chasing? Some people do that.
For me, what I found right now to maintain my weight is to try to get my body weight in grams of protein every single day. So I aim for at least 100 grams, but my goal is 120 grams every single day. And that was when I was on my weight loss journey. I was eating my goal weight in protein every day, and now I maintain that, and at least 30 grams of fiber.
Right. And is there particular fibers that you're looking at or particular proteins that you look for?
Natural sources of protein, so lean meat, fish, and then for fiber, again, I don't try to use supplements, so grains, beans, etc.
I think it's really important because when you look at food sources, they bring you so many other things. So many of those food sources have got other activities in them, like antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, energy sources that are really clean as well. And you're not relying on things that could have preservatives in them or flavourings or colourings or any kind of funny additives.
Yeah.
It's really smart, really good, and really hard to do.
You know, it's hard at first, but once you kind of adopt a lifestyle, it's not, and this is why I incorporate desserts like this, so I'm not feeling deprived, I'm just making tweaks that make them healthier, so that it makes it easier to maintain that every day.
And I can see now why you use allulose every day as well.
Exactly. So we're making the filling now. Super simple. I've got 4 tablespoons of my cream cheese Greek yogurt mixture. I'm gonna add a few tablespoons of the allulose.
It actually looks like sugar, doesn't it? It's like little granules.
Yeah, it absolutely looks like sugar. I also love that it browns like sugar, so it caramelizes like sugar, which you really can't find in most sweeteners.
And you don't get that funny aftertaste that you can get with some of them, even some of the natural ones.
Yeah, like that cooling effect or that aftertaste. None of that with this, which I love. So we're also going to add some collagen. So we're going to use the Skin Boost Plus, the marine unflavored, just to get that extra boost. So I love this product. Can you talk a little more about the Skin Boost Plus?
Yes, look, it's one of our most popular products, and the thing that I really love about it is it's got the bioactive collagen peptides in there. So it's got the Verisol in there, which is the one that's actually supported by 7 human clinical trials in women as well, which is actually pretty rare to find so many trials, particularly in women. So you can feel confident it makes a difference. But it's also got some high hyaluronic acid in there, which is really important for moisturising and hydration, and also vitamin C. And some people may not realise that you need vitamin C for your body to be able to create collagen. And I find it so surprising how many people don't have even a minimum amount of fruit and vegetables in their diet. I'm sure you hear this all the time with your people.
Can you talk a little more about hyaluronic acid? Because obviously we hear so much about that and how great it is for our skin, but you usually hear about taking it topically. And I love that it's in the formulation, but can you talk a little bit about why it's important to take it internally as well?
Sure. The thing that I like about having hyaluronic acid in something like that, like a powder, is it's going to go into lots of different tissues. Because if you think about it, if you're just putting it as a serum or a cream on your skin, it's really just in that particular area. And how far it actually goes in is actually quite questionable. Whereas when you're taking it in orally, it's going to lots of different collagen sensitive and collagen rich tissues as well. So you're getting benefits in your joints, you're getting benefits in bone, you're getting benefits in skin at the same time. And there is research to show that when you take it orally, it really does work.
That's incredible. How much collagen do you recommend people get every day?
It really depends on why you're taking collagen and obviously choosing the right one. So if we're looking at skin and we're looking particularly at the Verisol, that's the bioactive collagen peptides together with the vitamin C and hyaluronic acid, you're wanting to take anywhere between 2.5 and 5 grams every single day. The research shows that if you do that every day, after 8 weeks, you really start to see a difference.
Okay, so I made the filling while we were chatting, super simple, and I'm just gonna pour that on top of the crust that we already patted into the ramekins. So we're using the Marine Skin Boost Plus today. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the Marine and the other?
Yes, sure. Look, we've got a couple of types of Skin Boost Plus. The thing about the Marine is that it doesn't come from a bovine source. So if you're pescatarian and you do eat fish but you don't eat meat, you don't like meat sauces, then that's going to be the right one. The thing that's really nice about it is because it's concentrated, you only need 2.5 to 5 grams overall. Because it's got hyaluronic acid and vitamin C in there as well, the dose is about 6 grams. So that's 2 teaspoons. And I think you put in at least two teaspoons.
I put 2 teaspoons in here.
That's great. So it's going to be yummy, good for us, and contribute to our collagen.
Perfect. I'd love for you to share more. A lot of people think that they have to mix their collagen into their drinks, but we can use it in so many different ways, and it actually improves the texture in baking that I've found.
That's really interesting because we've obviously got it in here and it's made no difference to the texture.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it's going to have no taste as well because it's no flavour. And we've got the extra goodness in there too.
I'm going to pop these in the freezer. They only have to go in for about 20 or 30 minutes.
Okay, great. Well, I've learnt something new, and that is using collagen powder in cooking. I'm going to find out a bit more though.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've got a lot of experience with this.
Yes.
What does it do? I mean, besides being really good for you, what does it do when you cook with it?
Well, so I love baking with it. So as you already mentioned, we don't have to mix it into water or, our coffee or tea or whatnot. I love baking with collagen because it improves the texture, especially in low-carb baking. So a lot of times when you're doing low-carb, high-protein baking, it can get really dry. The texture isn't just there. So a lot of people don't get that excited about high-protein, low-carb desserts because it just doesn't mimic that same feeling that you get from a real dessert. So I love using the allulose because you get that sugary flavor that you love. But then baking with collagen helps improve the texture. It gives you that like dense chewiness that you really want in your desserts. So I love combining protein powder with collagen. So you don't only get the hair, skin, and nail benefit, but it actually improves the texture.
That is fantastic. Learned something new today.
I taught the scientists something. Here you go.
Thank you. Oh, looks good.
Yes.
Now, just to recap for everybody, this is lemon cheesecake, no bake.
No bake.
Which I love. Can you go through what you've put in here again?
Absolutely. So we used a Greek yogurt and cream cheese mixture just to cut down the fat, increase the protein. We used allulose, again, both in the crust and in the cheesecake filling. The other thing I love about allulose is unlike other sweeteners that have that like GI effect that kind of mess with your tummy, I don't get that with this.
Great.
And I absolutely love that. In addition to the fact that there's no aftertaste. So, and then we added the Skin Boost Plus for just an extra collagen boost.
Fantastic. You know, the other thing about allulose, because I can tell you really love it.
Yeah, literally. I ingest insane amounts of allulose every day.
The thing that's really interesting about allulose in what I love as well is it doesn't give you the blood sugar spike, which is really good. It's actually going to be really good for your microbiome. So in fact, you were talking about tummy upset. If anything, this is going to help with your gastrointestinal health, which is a great thing. It's got antioxidant activity, and it also can help your body to create more GLP-1, which is going to be good for your satiety.
Buzzword of the year.
It is.
So you mentioned the blood sugar spike. So other sweeteners that people are used to seeing on the market. So not all sweeteners are created equal then. So unlike sugar, so even if you see another sweetener, those can spike your blood sugar?
Well, what they can do is they can sometimes fuel your cravings. And you do tend to find this won't happen with the allulose, which is really important. The other thing about some of the artificial ones is they have a funny taste sometimes. I don't know how well you can cook with them. Some you can, some you can't.
Yeah.
But in terms of health, I think it's really hard to beat something like allulose.
Yeah.
Based on all the things that it can do for your body.
Absolutely. What is allulose? What is it derived from? Like, where does it come from?
So we've heard of fructose. Fructose is actually fruit sugar. This is fructose flipped over to the other side, and you do that and it becomes allulose. So that's what it is, and that's why it's these little white granules, and it's really natural and it's really easy to use.
And it's delicious.
Can we try this?
Yes, cheers.
I'm going to try this. Oh, that's good. I've got it all over my face. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing all this information. You learn something new every day.
And I've learned how to make this, which I'll be doing when I get home.